Trick or treat, it's a common phrase we hear during Halloween, but why do you hear it? For chocolate, of course. I'm going to be talking to you about chocolate. Chocolate ranges from all sorts of things, from Reese's Cups to Hershey's Bar to Twix to anything you fancy. You're never too old to enjoy chocolate, whether it's trick or treating or you just pick up something at the store. I try to not eat a lot of chocolate, just like a lot of people. It's not really that good for you. But just like everyone else, I do crave chocolate. Have you ever wondered how chocolate's made? There's a really long process that it goes through, and I'm going to be telling you about that. Through the harvesting process of the cocoa bean, to the processing in the factory, and even more the finalization of the product. The harvesting begins with the pods being cut down from the tree. After the pod is cut down, it must be split open. Once it's open, they have to remove the bean as well as the white pulpy mass around the bean. Cocoa beans with the white pulp around it are put into a container, usually a wooden box. According to Russell L. Cook in the chocolate production and use, the temperature in the box is usually around 110 degrees Fahrenheit. A chain reaction occurs once this is done. The white pulp ferments in creating an alcohol and carbon dioxide mixture, which kind of settles the really acidic and bitter taste that the cocoa bean has by itself right away. After 3 days of the fermenting process, the beans begin drying. The people who are producing the chocolate use hot air blowers to control the climate of the beans. They usually keep it at an actually really hot temperature to begin drying the beans. Once the beans are dry, they lose almost half their weight and become very light. They are packed and shipped in burlap sacks. Once they arrive at the factory, the first thing that needs to be done is they need to be fumigated because they're coming from like a rainforest, so they have bugs and like germs and stuff all over them. So they're placed into a room that releases methyl bromine, maybe. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. The gas destroys any insects or living eggs, like I said. After the gas, the cocoa beans are stored in a cool room until the cleaning is done. They have cleaning machines that separate the beans from like the rocks and sticks and leaves or whatever else is in the sacks with them. The beans are then sorted and sent to be roasting. The roasting creates most of the flavor that is in the chocolate. During the roasting, the bean loses moisture and the shell is loosened. The shell is kind of made from it drying out because it is just a bean, so there's not really a shell until it gets dry. Once the shell is loosened, the beans can be roasted in any degree. There are two major ways to roast beans. So if you roast them at a lower temperature, it's kind of like a less dark chocolate. If you roast it at a higher temperature, it becomes a darker chocolate. So like in the US, most chocolate is more of a reddish color, and if you were to go over to like Europe or something, most chocolate's darker. They roast it at higher temperatures. After roasting, the bean is sent to be cracked, and inside the bean lies the nibs or the chocolate part. It is removed by a machine called a winnower, which cracks the shell. The shell then is just thrown out. There's no really value to the shell at all. People are trying to figure out things to do with the shell because chocolate's such a big product and there's so much like left over from the shell, so they're trying to make possible fuels out of it, fillers for plastic and fertilizer, but they haven't really figured out much to do with it. After the nibs are separated, chocolate liquor is produced. Through grinding and heating, the chocolate liquor is the most basic form of chocolate that the United States sells. However, chocolate liquor is usually used further to make cocoa powder or chocolate. It's also known as cooking chocolate. The production is not done yet. There are still a few more steps to finalize the chocolate product. Extra cocoa butter is then added and sent to the refiner to get broken down. So basically, it's kind of like a huge butter churn. It's called like a conching or refining. And it smooths out like anything in the chocolate, so there's no like bumps in it or like chunks of cocoa powder. And then once it's all smoothed out, it is sent to be molded and ready to be packaged and stuff. So according to Peter Fry, the material in science of chocolate, the process results with like the correct flavor profile through all of that. They heat up the chocolate and they lower it to about 85 degrees to create the molding process. It's sent to a machine that squirts out like the chocolate into the correct molds. Next, the chocolate is cooled and it is smoothed out to remove any air bubbles in the chocolate. And then it is wrapped in wax paper and tin foil for a little while, and then finally they wrap it up and send it to the stores. So now the chocolate is shipped to the stores. The final step of the production is done. Chocolate is made by going through three main phases. Like I said, there was packing and fermenting and factory roasting and final of all packaging. So as you're trick-or-treating, well, I'm assuming none of you are actually trick-or-treating this year. But next time you go to the store to buy chocolate, now you know how it's made.
Okay.